What's up, everybody? It's Punk Rock Talk, episode 25. My guests today are Goners UK. You're listening to their song, Wolves. It's on our Spotify playlist, Rebellion Noise 2022. If you're not following that playlist, you need to follow it. Head over to Spotify and search for the Havoc. Go to our page and scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see the playlist. Again, it's called Rebellion Noise 2022. We update the list every Monday. And we always update it in correlation with whoever we're going to be interviewing here on Punk Rock Talk that week. Have you missed an old episode of Punk Rock Talk? Don't worry about it. You can find all of them on the Havoc's YouTube channel. If you have not yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that bell icon. You'll be notified every time we upload new content to our channel. And we are always preparing something new for our YouTube. And if you've been paying attention, we just released a new music video. The only place that you can hear our new single, Who's to Blame, is on our YouTube channel. It's not on any streaming platforms right now, only on our YouTube. So head over there and check it out if you have not seen the video yet, heard the song. It's been a while since we released a new track, so we're excited to get this one out there. Big shout out to our buddy Chris Michael Media. He shot the video at our comeback show at First Street Billiards in Los Angeles a few months back, and he did a great job not only filming it, but editing it and getting it ready for us. So thanks, Chris. We love you, buddy. Okay. There is a couple things that I want to talk about on this episode for the intro that are a little bit out of the norm. But before I do that, I'm going to make another important announcement for our sponsor, which is Dead and Buried Inc. That's Dead and Buried Inc. INC, not INK. You can find them here on Instagram at Dead and Buried Inc. or online at their website, deadandburiedinc.com. Are you in a band? Do you need merchandise? They are your source. They can do it all. If you're looking for Havoc merchandise, that's where you're going to find it. So again, that is deadandburiedinc.com. And one more quick announcement here. If you haven't been around and seeing episodes or paying attention to what's going on lately, a little while ago I announced Rebellion Noise Records. This is the first release. It features most of the bands that are going to be playing next year's 40 Fest in Atlanta. New bands are being added to the fest that we're going to be announcing soon. And there's going to be an updated comp also that has more songs featuring those bands, as well as the bands that are on the first volume of that. And the 40 Fest January 2023 will be the Havoc's album release show. Our new record, Our Rebellion Continues, we're going to have it there. So that's going to be your first opportunity to get the new record and hear us play new and old songs. Okay. Before I invite my guests on here, there's something really, really important that I want to talk about. And I meant to discuss this last week and forgot. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about it now. And not just this week, but every week until we know the outcome of this. If you're looking at your screen right now, you can see our good friend Brittany from Oil Change has a GoFundMe for her upcoming heart surgery. There is information that we are waiting on pending her next doctor's visit. But I'm going to go ahead and read this off of her GoFundMe page because I want everybody to be aware of it. If you're not going to click the link, you're just going to hear it here. And the link, by the way, is on Oil Change's Instagram in their bio for this GoFundMe. It says Pat Baker is organizing this fundraiser. Hi, my name is Pat, and this fundraiser is for my beautiful granddaughter, Brittany Eggerding. Britt got sick as a child and was misdiagnosed, so the cold turned into a way more significant illness, resulting in Britt being on meds until she was around 18. Since then, she was able to stay healthy until about a week ago, since this posting was made, when she experienced nausea and vomiting for 2 days, which was significant enough for her to go to urgent care, who then sent her to the ER because of the results of the testing they performed. At the ER, Britt was advised the physician was concerned about her heart murmur and to consult with a cardiologist. The surgery would be for her heart valve, and I need her to give me a bit more info, so I will update as soon as I hear back. Britt lives in Michigan and has insurance, but we are sure this surgery will leave her with an outstanding balance. I am posting a few more pics of Britt and her many loves. Please share for me. Thank you for donating and sharing. And the most recent update on this page was made on July 15th by Pat Baker, which says Britt has a cardiologist and will see him/her July 27th. Not sure of the time, but just wanted everyone to have this latest update. I will post what I learn after her appointment. Thank you all so much for the donations. We really appreciate each of you. Speaking of donations, there has been a total of $1,375 raised for a goal of $10,000 for this. So if you would like to donate, like I said before, the link to this GoFundMe page is in Oil Change's bio on their Instagram page. Guys, we talk all the time on this show about how we're a community. In a lot of ways, we're just this really bizarre and outspoken family. The one thing that really ties all of us together is the love for this scene and the love for this music. But we are like a family, and this is a family member that definitely needs support right now. And, if this was like, a sprained wrist or a broken arm or something like that, I'd say, well, that sucks, and I hope you get better and, wish you well, send you on your way. But this is something definitely more serious. When you're talking about anything that has to do with the heart, we want to really pay attention to it and be as supportive as we possibly can for Britt during this time. So, again, please check out the GoFundMe page and make a donation if you can, when you can. And let's just show Britt and the rest of Oil Change that as a community, we are here for them. Thoughts and prayers going out to you guys. Love you guys. And I just want to say, Britt, you're going to make it through this, whatever the future has in store. And I can't wait to hear positive news and watch you keep kicking ass with Oil Change. All right. Having said that, I'm going to go ahead and invite our guests on here today. If you have questions for myself or for Goners UK, please submit them by tapping that question mark icon on your screen. Please do not put it in the comments section. They get lost there. I don't really pay attention to the comments section during the interview. Although I did see Sean say, love you, Jason. This means a lot to all of us. Up the punks. Yeah, man. You're welcome. Love you guys. All right. Let's get this invite sent. And see if we can. Okay. Invitation has been sent. Let's see where we go. What's up?
What's up, man?
What's up?
How you guys doing?
Good.
Happy to be
Perfect.
here.
Awesome. Happy to have you guys on here, man. So we have, for anybody that's in the audience that, they're not aware, I always do a pre-interview FaceTime call with each band just to make sure that everything is going smooth and all like that. And during that, we were talking about how shitty the cell service is where you're from. People may not know where you're from. So why don't we just take a quick second to introduce everybody in the band, what you guys do in the band, and where you're from.
Start back here.
I'm James. I sing and drive the van.
I'm Chris. I play guitar and drink beer.
Rob, I play the bass and I get to sing once in a while too.
I'm Feather. I play guitar and scream and attempt at singing sometimes.
And we're from Bozeman, Montana.
Well, right on, guys. Thanks for making the time to be on Punk Rock Talk. I'm excited to talk with you guys about your music and where you're from, because Montana is definitely a unique place. I've been through there on tour, and, there's some beautiful landscape there. But after like 8 hours of seeing nothing, and then your gas light comes on your van, you start shitting bricks. Like, oh, fuck, are we going to be able to actually get gas? That did really happen. And fortunately, in the distance, we finally saw a gas station. We're like, oh, fuck, man, that was cutting it really close. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about where you're from and what's the scene like there.
I don't know, man. It's been getting better in recent years over here in Bozeman and Missoula and Billings and all that. But we've been bringing in a lot of our favorite bands just to come here and play, mostly just so we could kick it with our favorite bands and play a kick-ass show. And more and more people have been coming out to the shows over the years. It's been like, I think 4 or 5 years of me booking punk bands here in town, and it's just been like growing ever since,
That's awesome. Where are you booking the bands at? What venue?
There's a few different spots. Nowadays I use the Eagles Ballroom. It fits about 300 people. But the bar that we really liked actually shut down. It was called the Zebra, just a dirty, dingy, low ceiling basement bar that smelled like piss, but we loved it. It was perfect. We had the Casualties come through there, and Agent Orange and Guttermouth, tons of bands, and it was killer every time. But they turned it into like a casino EDM place now, so way to go.
Yeah. All ages shows are hard to come by anymore here. We have the Labor Temple, which puts them on, which is awesome and is a great opportunity. But that is one aspect we're lacking here in Montana is, um, I guess, all ages venue and something more inclusive that we can bring the little ones to.
Right. Well, I'm sure that you guys are doing things there, making moves there that will spark something. So hopefully that opportunity will open up there.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the reason why we're trying to get these bigger bands in here, just to let them know there is a scene here, and hopefully word will spread, and just like anywhere, I guess, in the Pacific Northwest, I should say, it ebbs and flows. I mean, there was a time when Bozeman was flourishing, and it seems to jump around town to town, every couple years. It's like, and because Montana is very, it's secluded, it's this giant state with no one in it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you've played cities that have a bigger population than the entire state of Montana, so
Yeah.
but it's growing. It's a college-based state, really. It's like you get a lot of out-of-staters here going to college, so you have to capture that moment locally, because you only get 4 years, right? Because then it's the cycle changes, and school changes, right? So, but yeah, no, it's growing. It's definitely growing.
Well, that's good to hear. I don't think the Havoc ever played in Montana before. But I have been through there on tour with my other band. And like I was saying before, like we drove for like 8 hours and there was like fucking nothing around. And I was just thinking to myself, like, where are we going to even play? Like, who's going to be at this show? And it wasn't just a show. It was supposed to be like a festival show.
Oh, yeah.
And I just kept thinking, like, where are these people going to come from? There's nobody fucking here.
They all live on the ground or some shit. They just crawl out of the hole.
Dude, it was the wildest thing. When we finally got to the venue, it was like this. It looked like this, like, random biker bar off the side of the highway. And, like, it was small. And they had, like, these two big, stages set up outdoors. And then they had like their own hotel on the property. And sure enough, all these fuckers just started showing up out of nowhere. And like by the time the show started, there were hundreds of people crawling around there. And I was like, what? It was crazy.
There's a festival every year up here that's called Mosh in the Mountains that is exactly what you just described. You drive forever into nothing. And there's just a dingy little biker bar with a couple of cabins on site. And then they have 2 stages and just everybody that's into punk rock or metal within 8 hours is there that time.
Dude,
so
that must have been what we played then. I don't remember the name of it, but that sounds exactly like what we played.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a festival. This one's only about 4 years old, but it was probably something right the same area, I would assume.
Okay, yeah, because this was back in like I want to say 2015, maybe 2014.
Yeah.
So. I'd love to hear kind of the origin story about your band, since it is such, kind of a secluded area. And getting guys together that have common interests, especially when the common interest is punk rock, has got to be very unique in that area. So how did you guys find each other?
Well,
I can start how I met James.
Yeah, right.
I moved to Montana when I was 12, and James worked at a head shop up the street from my house. And obviously kids weren't allowed in, but they had like cool posters in the back, all the blacklight stuff. And he would just let me through because I had like a pink mohawk, a little punk rock kid. And he's just like, no, he's cool. That's how I met him when I was just a little guy, and now all these years later, now we're in a band. But the
Cool.
story,
I'd say this band started with Chris and myself and our drummer, our drummer doesn't do interviews. He's he's on a jet somewhere. Anyway, we have what is really just a side project, you know, acoustic at the time, and had an opportunity, you know, and like punk bands are very few and far between as far as like sound wise goes here in Montana. You know, I think there's a lot of ideals that are spread throughout the entire community, you know. And we had an opportunity to play with DOA here in Bozeman, and which we played, and it was super weird because we're acoustic and they're not, you know,
Right.
and it was
The acoustic band played that too. Those
right, yeah,
two
it
acoustic
was strange, you know. So we just felt like, oh, it was time to plug back in, you know, coming from throughout the years, other bands. Yeah, no, we just decided we wanted to turn it up. And it seems like it was 3 months later we were playing a show as Goners, you know.
Yeah.
So, and the rest is history.
Well, let's talk about also the name Goners UK. What's the origin story behind that?
It's kind of a joke because it's like there's another band called the Goners. Like John Hyatt's band is called the Goners. So we put the UK on there because it's like Goners suck. So that way, if we suck, you know, it's already in the name.
That's funny because the first time I saw the band name, I was like, oh, this band must be from the UK and they're just separating themselves from the Goners,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
being a US band.
yeah, and there's a Goners in the UK too. So
Right.
we just did what the English bands do, and just threw the UK on it.
We're the only Goners UK. So yeah, it worked out.
Well, that's cool because it makes for a good laugh and it makes sense, you know, why you guys did that.
Right.
So that's cool to learn that and for other people to learn it too. I saw that you guys had this interview with New Noise magazine that just came out.
Yeah.
And my first thought was that's fucking cool that they got interviewed in New Noise magazine. Because I feel like a lot of bands, especially kind of underground punk bands or whatever, it's hard to get press.
Yeah, definitely.
So when I saw that, I was like, man, that's fucking cool that they got interviewed there. And so I read the interview and I really enjoyed it because it focuses on an element that is also not very common, that's not talked about very commonly in this scene. And it's about how you guys embrace rap and hip hop.
Mhm.
And, you know, for me personally, I cannot stand the majority of contemporary hip hop that's out there.
Yeah.
But when you talk about late 80s and early 90s hip hop, to me, that's when it felt the most dangerous. And it felt like there was something really important being said in the lyrics. There were all these socioeconomical issues that they were tackling, a lot of injustices within the community. Of course, their perception about police, and how they have been mistreated as human beings. Whereas today you listen to contemporary hip hop and it's all about fucking vanity and drug use and bullshit. And forgive my ignorance if there are artists out there that are rapping about things that are important issues. I'm sure there are. But just because I don't really pay attention to the genre, what I see is surface level. What's on the surface, I can't stand. But back then, what was on the surface were these groups that actually had something important to say.
And they were fuck as fuck too. All of
yeah,
that
man.
mentioned. That's like, if you were to just like write that on a piece of paper and ask me what genre that is, I couldn't tell you if it was punk rock or hip hop. That's kind of why we embrace it so much,
And you're absolutely like, new hip hop isn't. There's no message. It's just all fluff, right? It's all just, like you said, it's all bullshit. There's no message. There's no importance. Half the time, it's like this. You don't know what they're saying. It sounds like they don't know what they're saying.
Right. Mumble rap.
Yeah, it just doesn't come together. Where, like for me growing up in the 80s, like I remember, it's funny, in school, I had the cassette of, City Baby Attacked by Rats, right? GBH. And a friend of mine the Beastie Boys had just come out, right?
Yeah.
And, oh, wow, this is different. What is this, So I made the exchange, It's like, oh, here's my GBH tape. Thanks for your Beastie Boys tape, and from that moment on, I mean, I want to say this is 1985 or 86, right? From that moment on, there was this melting pot. I wasn't pigeonholed into one style of music, especially for my age. It's like I'm 10, 11 years old, so being able to have that influence of multiple things coming at me, I think really helped inspire me to be a musician. So, and hip hop played a big part of that, and it's like you said, it's like that 80s to mid 90s, what was hip hop, what was rap, like there was issues being tackled, real issues, and now it's just lost in the television, in the vanity,
Right.
So
They all, I was born in LA County as well and grew up out there, moving around a lot, being just your average poor kid with the same broken family and issues. And listening to NWA had more to say about my reality and where I was growing up than Aerosmith. Not that I'm knocking Aerosmith, but, bands like that and the punk that was being played on MTV and the radio, like Karaoke, like, yeah, I found some cool bands. I still listen to it. It was still music I listened to, but the reality of where I was living was in underground hip hop and what was coming into the mainstream in hip hop and rap in the 90s. And that all struck a chord with me. All my friends listened to it. I was the odd one out in my neighborhood and street, and kids I skated with that would listen to like Sepultura and, Napalm Death. But I'd go home and also be listening to Nate Dogg. They were the same, like what Subhumans brought to the political aspect of punk and waking me up to stuff, and say even Crass was as shocking and real as what like I said, NWA Nate Dogg was singing about. It was reality. It was the world. So to me, I I consider them the same thing.
I love hearing the different perspectives on this, because I can relate to it in a lot of different ways. That late 80s, early 90s, when MTV was just on every kid's TV, I was one of those kids.
I was
And I remember the first time I heard Fight for Your Right to Party, which was kind of like a joke song for Beastie Boys.
absolutely.
But the cool thing about that song was they were crossing genres. And even if it wasn't like intentionally to capture multiple audiences, it definitely had that effect, because I was always way more drawn to the rock and roll shit that I was seeing on MTV. But when Beastie Boys Fight for Your Right to Party came out, I was like, wow, this is fucking cool because it's rock and roll, but these guys look like dudes that, in my town.
Right.
Yeah.
And then later I remember, like, when they released Sabotage, at that time I was already, discovering so much about punk rock. And when that song came on, I was like, this sounds like punk rock with turntables going on. Like, what the fuck? This is cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, seeing music videos by like Snoop Dogg in Long Beach, or Dr. Dre, and they're talking about Southern California and Compton and Crenshaw and all those areas. And then when I later moved to Southern California and I see those places for the first time with my own eyes, it's like, the light bulb goes off as to like what all those lyrics meant.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
You're seeing things through kind of the same lens that they were seeing things. And like anybody that's been to those places, especially the really poor areas in those cities, it's obvious that there is a lot to fucking talk about still.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame that there's not more emphasis on that in contemporary hip hop and their music. Like, I don't understand what took place to where there was this shift to where everything was focused on, like I said before, just vanity is really what I see so much is just, how much money can you make, and what's the most expensive thing you can buy.
I believe it's all, it's all money, right? So the reason you don't hear those topics talked about in what's commercial today is because they don't know. They didn't grow up in that. They're growing up in suburbs. They're growing up in the upper end.
Right.
And it's, again, the message gets lost in that, and like if you date back hip hop, it's like hip hop was always about the message.
Yeah.
The origin of hip hop was always about the message, the struggle, and that's gone, it's the hip hop we hear today is coming from upper middle class or what have you, it's just not the same.
At first, I saw it as a big fuck you to economic racism. Like, oh, well, us poor fucking kids and druggies and people of color, we're going to show the rich white man that, yeah, we can own a fucking Mercedes or an Escalade or have like diamonds in our video. And now what the fuck are you going to do since you don't want us to have them? And now that we have it, like just throwing it back in their face. But I think kids growing up, not like you touched on, not understanding the economic and class warfare that was happening, they didn't get that message, and they just glorified, was it Master P that had a gold-plated tank and gold, basketball court? Like, it was like the video.
I want a fucking gold tank.
That'd be pretty awesome. Yeah, at the time, that was the most expensive music video ever made, ever. And then everything became about singing about the party and diamonds and rims and mansions, and it lost the fuck you aspect, and it just became about the same greed and wealth that we're trying to stop from happening, so that there isn't a lower class dying. Now everyone just wants to chase a party, and everything's a joke, everything's online, everything is immediate, and
it's lost its punk ethics.
yeah.
It really has. You know, that's what drew me to it initially. You know, it's like, here is something coming out that's like, you know, it's funny what, you know, there's this genre, this classification of emo, right? And it's like, well, I mean, listen to what some of these people are pouring their hearts into, you know, what is emo, right? You know, it's like Slayer can be emo if they're pouring their hearts into it. So, yeah, no, I think hip hop today has lost its punk ethics that were there back in the '80s. So,
Well, maybe there's, going to be a new breed that comes up and discovers those classics and, researches it and understands where that group of people came from, and they decide that they want to say something more about it. But as far as punk rock is concerned, I think that the whole fuck you message is still well intact, and you guys are helping to keep that together.
Absolutely. That's my favorite message.
Mine too.
Stamp every song with a fuck you.
Yeah. I kind of have that message in mind in one way or another with whatever I'm going to write, like, what am I saying fuck you to and why?
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know, like, for you guys, what songs on your most recent release you think really capture that message and what it's about, because your songs are out there for people to discover, but living in this whole digital age, even in the punk scene, it's just like shit seems like it just kind of gets lost in the shuffle because there's so much content out there. So let's talk a little bit about your songs on this most recent release, and which ones mean the most to you and why.
I'd say Wolves definitely is on the top there for, you know, I don't know. You can, like, for me live, like, I feel it. It's very easy to play because it's, again, going back to emotion. It's like, oh man, I feel this. This is, so you put your heart and soul into into playing because you feel it.
Think the struggle everyone can relate to.
Sure.
Yeah, when I wrote it, I was like, just feeling like everything was just like constantly just hammering down on me over and over, just one thing after the other. I'm like, so sat down and started writing, and that's what fell out. It's just one of those songs that I wrote it in about 10 minutes, just like super, just kind of happened. And those seem to be the best ones usually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's because, it's authentic. Like if you sit down to write a song about some topic, a random topic, maybe you get inspired from another band that has a song about, the police, and it's like, well, we don't have a song about fuck the police, and why not, so let's write one. Well, if you're not pulling from anything that has, a personal experience attached to it, then it becomes this like long drawn out forced process.
Yeah. And it takes forever to write a song when you're just like, here's a topic, gonna write about that. Like, no, I don't even bother. If I don't have it already on my mind, like something that I want to talk about, I usually won't even sit down to write about it. If it's just a random idea, I don't bother.
And as far as recording goes, I love talking about this with each guest because the options are kind of limitless now with where technology is. And some bands choose to record themselves. Other bands still like the traditional method of going to a studio and hiring an engineer, etc. What have you guys been doing?
We've got a full studio set up downstairs. That's where we were going to do the interview, but the service was too bad to connect with the Instagram and all that. So, but yeah, we have a full studio downstairs that we practice in that area too. So record it all ourselves, and sometimes we'll mix and master it. Sometimes we'll ship it out. Depends on what it is.
And oddly enough, I mean, it sounds weird to think COVID. I don't want it to sound disheartening, but instead of being discouraged and idling on fear of where the band's going to be, kind of transversing all that, we looked at what we had in the band account and what we were all willing to sacrifice and just poured everything into, let's take the time to write. Let's take the time to choose what we really wanted to do all along, and let's get some equipment and set it up. And if this is going to be a long road, let's take all the time to put out the best thing we can possibly do with the time that we have to do it. And it ended up being a blessing because now we're just writing twice as fast. I mean, we're set up to record a new song that we just finished a week ago, and it's a great motivator to record yourself. Even if you're going to end up going into a studio, I think every musician should go through the experience of understanding the process of recording and doing it by yourself, wherever you can make that happen, and just learn who you are as a musician again. And it helps you kind of maneuver all your weaknesses and strengths. I think it's great for everyone to do it, even if it's on a tape recorder. Go for it.
It's nice not being at a studio or something, you know.
Yeah.
You're not paying like to figure it out, you know, where you're figuring it out on your own at least. So it's not, you know, you're not fronting the money to find out that you shouldn't have done it like that.
Yeah. Now I fully understand why engineers charge so damn much, because it sucks trying to record all these things.
I couldn't agree more with you guys, because there is something about when you're performing live versus when you're recording something and listening back to it. Because when you're performing live, you're basing everything off of a singular perspective, your own.
Yeah.
And you can't be paying attention to what everyone else is doing while you're focusing on what you need to do. And when you record something and listen back to it and you catch those things like, that's what the guitar is doing right there, or, oh, that's the drum fill you're playing, like, or my voice really sucks that bad right here, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, you mean I've been singing for a year?
It is cool though too when you actually do hear it back though, and you hear what somebody else is doing. Like, you know, me and Feather are always on opposite sides of the stage.
Yeah.
So I might not hear exactly what he's doing on certain parts of songs, and he's not hearing what I'm doing on certain parts of songs. So when you hear like what each other are doing, you can kind of build on that too, and just be like, oh, if he's doing that, I'm gonna try this and see how that sounds. You know,
it gives us the opportunity to take it home and listen to it and come back, you know, and make sure, you know, before we move on, or, you know, it definitely has its benefits.
Makes trying new things out at practice a lot quicker rather than trying all 50. You're like, oh yeah, those other 30 weren't great.
Yeah. In my experience of recording in a studio, you always look back and go, gosh, you know, if I could have only done that just a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
So you know, this gives us the fortunate opportunity to actually fix that, you know, if we find it. Sometimes we don't find it.
Yeah. And then mistakes on the album really, really pop out.
Yep. Then you gotta nail the mistakes live.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to play it wrong every time now.
I mean, that's why working with a good engineer and a producer, if you choose to have one, can be really beneficial because, you know, they're looking for all of those things. They're looking for, you know, to highlight what is working with the band and to improve what isn't working with the band.
Yeah.
And, you know, like for me and my process, like, I don't like showing my music to anyone until I feel like it's okay. and for the bar, like for my bar for where okay is set is really high compared to what some other people's okay bar is.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Well, that's good though. You know, they're not just gonna let some bullshit out. You know, like make sure it's like fine tuned. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting to the point of the show where we need to let the audience ask some questions. So if you are watching right now and you have a question for Goners UK or myself, you can submit them by tapping that question mark icon on your screen. Please don't put them in the comment section. And I'll pull them up one by one and we'll see what we got. There are questions already here, so let's just go ahead and get started. First question comes from my buddy, Master Jeff. He said, are you familiar with early Beastie Boys? They were totally punk.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Dude, they used to hang out with the Bad Brains, man, and like sit in the practice spaces while like bands touring through would play like Black Flag and, you know, everything else, Circle Jerk. I mean, the reason why they're called the Beastie Boys is because they wanted, you know, something that started with two B's like Bad Brains.
Did you guys hear that they just had a street named after them in New York City?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's in Manhattan, I think.
I think you're right.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What did you say?
I was just saying that's amazing. I can't imagine like being like some poor kid and memorizing the streets to stay on and off of, and then 30, 40, 50 years later, it's named after you or your band. It's got to be unreal feeling.
Totally. Did any of you ever see Beastie Boys live?
Oh, I wish. No.
Nope.
Yeah, man, I would have loved to have seen them too. I thought it was pretty cool. A few years back, Eminem released a record called Kamikaze, and the influence for the cover was from the Beastie Boys.
License Bill.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's one of those hip hop artists that, like, yeah, again, when Eminem came out, like, that was still during the height of MTV.
Sure.
And that first song, Hi, My Name Is, when that came out, again, like, I looked at him and I was like, this guy looks like, you know, another dude I know in town.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, in some ways I could relate, and especially because he's white, you know. But he's one of those artists that still today, I feel like he is totally embracing the fuck you mentality and message, even towards his own genre.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He did, on that record, Kamikaze, he has a song, Lucky You. Are you guys familiar with that song? He did it with Joyner Lucas.
No, I don't think so. I know who Joyner is though.
You guys should totally listen to that song, because Eminem in that song, he fucking goes for the jugular about mumble rap, and it's fucking rad.
Awesome.
Sweet.
If you are in the audience and you have questions, go ahead and submit them by tapping that question mark icon on your screen. We've only had one question in the queue so far. I know that there's several of you out there that could submit questions. So go ahead and do that. And while we're waiting for that, let's just talk a little bit more about what you guys have coming up in the near future as far as shows are concerned, or other plans for the band.
We want to go back out on tour. We just got home from tour a little bit ago, and we just want to keep going, man. Just foot on the gas, go, go, go. You know, I think we've got like 12 songs ready.
11 or 12.
Yeah, we got like 11 or 12 songs ready to record for the next album, and we just want to play as much as we possibly can and with whoever we can. We don't really like to play too much at home right now. Just we don't want to burn out our town. No one wants to see us anymore if we play every month. You know? So just get out and go.
I want to get us to the East Coast soon. That's something that's been on our wish list for a hot minute. We've spoken to two bands, or I should say we spoke to one and the other spoke to us about the idea. And I know a handful of bands on the East Coast that have offered to take us out for like 3 or 4 days. So we can make that happen. That's huge. And speaking of growing up on MTV and weird music, Reverend Horton Heat, we're going to be playing with the Rev, which is super badass.
That's
Awesome.
I booked that one a little bit ago. That should sell out our small venue. Like it's like 300 person, something like that. So we've got a couple of shows coming up, but we really just would rather go out on the road rather than play locally. And we're ready to go. So if you got a city you want us to come to, let's go. Come on, hit us up.
On this most recent tour, what was your favorite show and why?
Alex's Bar in Long
Alex's.
Beach. I got to play through Steve Soto's bass rig. And that
Awesome.
I told my mom about it and she was like crying. My mom was a huge Adolescence fan too. So yeah, that for sure the highlight, man.
And I used 2-3 miles from Alex's Bar.
Oh, cutting out. Okay, we got it back.
It got choppy out here. Alex's
You were
Bar.
cutting out there. Can you repeat that? Okay, sorry about that, everybody. For whatever reason, Instagram crashed, and we lost our live connection. So I'm going to go ahead and invite her.
Hey,
Sorry about that.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened either. All of a sudden, it just said your live video ended, and my screen was frozen. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it was something to do with my connection. I'm assuming so, but I'm connected to Wi-Fi, and the signal is strong, so I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe it was an Instagram issue.
Same here too. We're strong signal, so
Okay.
Rules and Aces High in Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah,
The
Aces
dopest
High.
venue of all time. We've played some really badass state-of-the-art places, and for sure, Aces in Salt Lake City is the sickest place of all time.
Yeah, everyone hit
Absolutely
them
go
up.
there.
They got amazing bands coming through there. Amazing bands. And Salt Lake City had a drop in their venue participation, or places to play, that is, during COVID. So Aces High, sound system is fucking great, bars rad, people are rad, everyone that works there takes care of you. They support everything from, Doom to hardcore punk, they love it all. They're hungry for bands right now. Hit them up.
Very cool. Hopefully the Havoc gets to play there whenever we start getting back out on the road, because that sounds amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Let
I'll,
us know. Come on down.
I'll plug you guys in, and we'll do some Montana dates and all that, and we'll just do a whole thing.
Well, it'll have to be sometime next year.
Yeah.
We've got the new record coming out in January, and we're hoping to kind of fill the calendar, with dates sprinkled throughout the year. So we'll see. We'll have to see what we can come up with.
Awesome.
Okay. We'll try.
I was going to say, too, on this most recent tour, you guys played with Justin's other band, Cake Eater.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was their second show.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of jealous because I haven't even got to see them live yet. So you saw them before I have.
They were great, man. They were really good.
The rat.
Yeah, all of them. Every one of them are sweethearts.
Yeah, I'm excited for them. For anybody that doesn't know, it's a new band that features several members from the Havoc, Justin, Josiah, and our drummer Will, and a former member of Spades and Blades, our other band, Garrett. He plays bass, but it's like really influenced by old school hardcore and hardcore punk. And what I've heard from what they recorded sounds fucking awesome. So I'm excited to see them live at some point.
Yeah, they're great.
Well worth it.
Talking about bands and tour, if there's one band that you guys could tour with, who would you choose?
Alive or dead?
Alive.
The Havoc.
I know somebody. We might be able to make that happen.
All right, then.
I played enough with your other band. Let's get the Havoc off the checklist.
You played in a band that played with my other band?
Spades and Blade.
Really? What was the other band that you were in?
I was different looking then, but Piece of the Action.
Oh, yeah, of course. I remember you guys.
I was their first bass player.
Gotcha. That's cool, man. What a small world.
Very
Yeah, man, that's fucking cool. That was a fun project, man. We put out an EP in 2019 that I was still am really fucking proud of. And we had plans to tour off of that. And then the pandemic shit started happening. And it was like, fuck me.
Yeah.
So kind of just been sitting there not doing much since we've been focusing on the Havoc, and Justin started Cake Eater. So, but that's really cool that our paths have crossed in that manner.
Yeah. And I've been for a long time too. So it's cool to see all these, different versions of ourselves in bands over the course of 20 plus years. And they're like slowly just kind of overlapping in different parts.
Totally, man.
In a band, Brad, you cross paths with so many other bands and musicians that we end up just running into each other all the time.
Right. Well, I tell people all the time that I would not be the musician that I am today if it weren't for punk rock. I mean, this is what started everything for me. Yeah. And so no matter what I'm working on, there's always that sprinkle of punk rock in there in some way, 'cause I can't help it. It's just, it's part of my DNA.
Yeah.
We've got some more audience questions, so let me go ahead and bring that back up here. This one comes from Grim Sleeper 666. What message do you want to send to the new generation of punks or anyone new to the genre?
Don't take no shit.
Yeah.
I love that answer.
See something fucked up or hear something fucked up, do something about it. Say something about it. Don't just sit back and let the world be shitty, man. Do what you can to make it fucking awesome. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And have fun. That's all I would say, man.
I remember 10 years ago, the singer from Drop Dead at a show said, "You have a voice, use it." And he said it angry, and then they ripped into another song, and it's so simple, so short, and so true. You have a voice, use it. I mean, what we're doing now is great. It's going to reach an audience, but we got to remember to carry this same ethos outside of this into the world outside our front door, and just always use your voice, say something, don't be idle. It's the only way we're going to change anything that's happening right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And there's a lot of shit to use your voice for or against right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you look at American history, generally things change because of protest.
Right.
And
Yep.
in some ways that's really, really shitty, that it takes that kind of an effort in order to make change that impacts office. You know, and it's like, I wish I could say that peaceful protest yields results, but 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. It's not until people start acting fucking crazy, which I'm not condoning. But it's like, why do things have to boil to that point, you know, to where people are so fed up that, you know, they start rioting, like literally rioting. And why does it take that for people in office to finally pay attention to what the people are saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, music, that's another way to use your voice. So if you're out there and, you know, you're learning to play guitar, or you're learning to play drums, or you want to be a singer in a band, you know, think about that. You know, look around you and see, well, what is it about my environment that is fucked up and needs to change? And how can I use my voice to change that? How can I use my instrument to change that?
Absolutely. Every song's a chance to throw a brick through a window.
And that's kind of what Daisy Pusher is all about on the new EP.
Yeah.
Deals with all that, what we're just talking about.
Right on. Unfortunately, it looks like we're just about out of time here. And this is like my least favorite part of the show, because I always love talking with each guest, and I could go on and on. But just like the rest of you, you know, we all have lives, and time waits for no one. So I've got to call it here. But before I do that, are there any shout outs that you guys would like to give?
Shout out to the Shivers from Casper, Wyoming. We love those guys. Done a couple tours with them, and any and everybody that's ever supported us, bought a T-shirt or bought a CD, booked us, or anything, man. We just thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Our wives for putting up with us.
Yeah.
Everyone that's ever bought anything from us off a merch table, they're the reason why we get to do this. Skullcrack from Long Beach, those guys are terrifyingly awesome. Cake Eater. I don't know, there's just so many to thank.
Man, the list is incredibly long.
Yeah.
I just want to thank Rob's mom.
Yes.
Because she really did.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
She's the band mom. So thanks, Mom.
She was punk rock when punk rock just fucking started, actually. Colin from GBH revealed his hair secret back in the 80s to my mom at a show way, way, way back in the day. The old soap in the hair.
That's amazing.
My mom's a real OG, like a real one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned merchandise. Is there some place where people can find that online?
We haven't updated our Bandcamp store in a while, but I can go update the store, or it's so easy to just shoot us a message on Instagram or Facebook and be like, hey, I want this shirt in large or whatever, and we'll just ship it to them that way. That's easy, but we will update the store.
Congrats. Awesome.
We will store though.
Okay. Before we end this, I actually would like to give a shout out to Rob. People out there in the audience don't know that Rob's doing some things behind the scenes to help the Havoc, to help me. And it's been awesome. So thank you for that.
No problem.
And I'm stoked to see what you guys are going to do next. And hopefully we can do some shows together, man.
Yeah, we would love it, man.
Yes.
Absolutely. You name the time and place, we'll be there. We don't care if it's across the country. We'll be there.
I actually reached out to Justin to get you guys on the Long Beach show. But obviously with everything we've got fit into place.
Right. Sorry, I'm trying to get my playlist ready over here and it's fucking up on me. So I apologize if I seem distracted. That's not intentional.
All good, man. All good.
This is kind of like one of the downsides to doing this thing by myself because I'm like, I'm doing the interview, but operating other things at the same time.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for being my guests. I really appreciate you guys making the time to be on Punk Rock Talk. Before we sign off here, would you like to announce who next week's guest is going to be?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's hear it.
It's some youngsters from Atlanta, Georgia. Billy Bats and the Made Men. Tune in.
That's right.
Don't miss it.
Their drummer's 14.
14-year-old drummer.
Keep punk rock alive.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah,
hope.
these guys are fucking awesome. Their music's really good. So I'm excited to get them on here and interview them and talk about their music. And if you're listening right now and you haven't heard them or Goners UK, make sure that you check them out on Spotify or wherever you stream music. And having said that, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate you being on here. And to play us out, this is Goners UK. Later.
Thanks, guys.
You got it.
Trying with